Hey, Press. With your additional responsibilities as pass game coordinator and then taking over some of the coordinator responsibilities like running the meetings and calling plays out in the field, has that taken away from your direct contact with Carson? And since you have so many other senior assistants who have previously been quarterbacks coach, allowed them to deal with him more, or is it still essentially the same with you primarily in his ear?
Yeah, I would say in terms of our communication, still the same. We spend a lot of time together. We're in constant communication throughout the week, throughout the day, in meetings, throughout meetings. So I would say from that standpoint, everything's the same. Obviously, we have a lot of great help around, and those guys have been invaluable for myself and Carson, as we go and build this thing.
John and then Mike K.
Hey, Press. How are you? Now that you've been through training camp, obviously, and we're into week one and the preparation standpoint, can you take a step back and take us how your role has changed? Obviously, not about specific game planning, but just about your roles in the filtering process and how much things have changed on a daily basis for you.
Yeah, I would say, the day feels like it goes really quick. You feel like you're constantly moving, and that part of that's just the schedule that we have. But, maybe a responsibility here in terms of scripting something for practice has changed a little bit, but, still involved is just as much as I ever have been in the quarterback meetings, in constant communication with Doug, with Carson, with all the other offensive coaches as well. And this continues to be a collaborative effort. So, I don't know that much has changed. Everybody's always had their piece of the puzzle, and then we all put it together and come together and all agree on what we're doing, our philosophy and situations, how we're going to attack each game plan, what we're thinking in each situation within the game plan. So that hasn't changed much, I wouldn't say.
Mike and then Daniel.
Russ, without this preseason and having a new coaching staff in Washington and a completely different looking secondary, what have you guys been studying in order to kind of get a grasp of what they might do?
Like anything, you always want to study the personnel, which has been, we've kind of known the personnel, knowing the people we're playing, but at the same time, you're trying to study them within the scheme. So, we've spent a lot of time watching our experiences against Coach Del Rio, against Coach Rivera, as well as what they've done in the past, what they were doing last year in Carolina, what they were doing last year or the last couple of years in Oakland, where those guys have been in their past. You kind of want to go through and make sure you uncover everything that could possibly show up. You always look at how they've attacked you in the past. So every time our offenses have played against those, their schemes, we've gone through and made sure we've watched all those. Obviously, we've known we were playing them for a long time. So we've been able to go back and do this work throughout the summer, make sure we're uncovering everything, and then kind of put together what we believe it's going to be based on the personnel they have, and then make sure we're covering everything else, just the standard, what our standard operating procedure is versus all different looks. You don't want to go chasing ghosts, but you want to be prepared on everything. And that's where I think it comes in. It's extremely valuable to have a veteran quarterback and a veteran center, the two guys in the middle of our offense that are really identifying things and calling things out. Those two are in constant communication. They do a great job identifying and making sure as an offense we're all on the same page. And they've done a really good job of that this week, and we have a lot of confidence in them.
Daniel and then Zach.
Hey, Press. In terms of the passing game, you have three rookie wide receivers that are, trying to get on the same page as Carson. What have you seen from those young guys in terms of personality, in terms of kind of getting along and, building that chemistry?
Yeah, they do a great job. They're all extremely eager to learn, and that's been the awesome part about it. Aaron and Jason Avant and Matthew Harper, those guys have done a great job spending extra time with those young guys specifically. Obviously, we brought them in early. Before training camp, they were in before the vets. We were able to really pour into them, get a lot of reps. You're never going to make up what you missed in the spring, but we were able to invest a lot of time in those guys, have the quarterbacks around them, be in communication with those guys throughout. And they've all done a great job attacking this thing, making sure they're asking the right questions, making sure they're getting the reps they need, studying off other guys' reps. That's one of the most valuable things you can get out of this stuff. And I think those guys have done a great job being eager to learn.
Zach and then Rob.
Hey, good afternoon, Press. How does your game day responsibility change now? And logistically, is your location different in terms of the booth or the field?
Right. I will be on the field. So I'll be able to be down there. I'll be able to communicate with Carson coming off, which, You know, in the past, it was a phone call. It wasn't a ton different, but we were able to sit there, go through the pictures together, communicate. And then other than that, we're all on the headset to begin with as coaches. So we're always communicating, whether you're up, down, however it is. That won't change much different. But yeah, excited to be down there and see what that's about. I haven't been downstairs in a long time, so it'll be fun.
Rob and then Les.
Hey, Press, you guys have always had a strong, close-knit quarterback room. And Jalen comes in, another guy who is like-minded, similar beliefs as Carson and Nate. How do you see that quarterback room evolving right now, the camaraderie, the closeness? And as far as Carson's leadership role, it seems like he's taken it to another level this year. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, and I think it's important that the quarterback room, the dynamics in the quarterback room all mesh well. And we believe it does. We really like what Jalen adds to our room. You know, the skill set's one thing, but the personality, like you said, it meshes really well together. You know, he's another kid like the other young receivers. He's really eager to learn. He asks good questions. He's very observant about things. So he's done a good job of making himself a part of the group. And the other guys have done a great job bringing him along. You know, everybody in there, we're all in there to put our best foot forward and help make this team better. And everybody's handled that the right way, gone about that the right way. Really proud of the way the other quarterbacks have all integrated Jalen, and then the way he is meshed with the group as well. And then throwing Josh back in the mix. That's what Josh does well. Josh is a great person, fits in really well, asks a lot of great questions, offers a lot of great advice, and then it's been a healthy dynamic. And then as far as Carson's leadership with the young guys, that has definitely been obvious. You know, he is always in communication with all the skill guys around him because, you know, hey, I expect you to run this route this way. If this guy plays it like this, I see you leaning it like this, keeping him here. I'm going to throw you here. That's always been a part of the communication. And so you see that a lot. And that's probably just, you know, maybe last year, the little run we had at the end of the year with some of the young guys, maybe that helped Carson even a little more of here's what I need. Here's what this team needs out of me. And it's going to change every single season. But he's done a great job embracing that. And I think guys really respect him for that.
We only have time for one more, guys, so let's wrap it up on this one with Les.
Hey, Press. So you've got this Washington defensive line with all these first-round picks. Looks like you might be going into this with maybe 3 of the 5 offensive linemen you would have thought were starters back in May, not there. Does that affect your approach to the passing game at all? What you really emphasize getting the ball out quickly? Does it curtail some of the things you might want to do?
Well, I think anytime you're going to game plan, when you first sit down and start, you think about what's our personnel, what's their personnel, where are our good matchups, where are bad matchups, how do we accentuate a matchup, how do we protect a matchup, you know, what fits us. You're doing it across the board, from the inside out, our offensive line versus their defensive line, our tight ends against their backers, their safeties, their defensive ends, from the outside in, our receivers, how do they match up, you know, so anytime you're putting together a plan, I think that comes into play. So obviously they have a very talented defensive line. You know, they do a great job putting pressure on you with their front 7, and then they do a good job in the back end as well. So every game plan we ever put together, I think that's always something you take into account and try to find your matchups and really put your advantages even further forward if you can.